Okay, great. So let's kick off. So again, thank you for joining the What's New for DVW Analytics webinar this afternoon. This is the last of quite a large number of webinars. Myself and Ian James, who will be doing the heavy lifting on the call today, have run this year, and I hope you find the session interesting. And also, just in my role as CEO of DVW, just want to thank everybody, both your interest, but also your patronage. Your good number of our current users of our various software products are on the call today, and I just want you to let you know that it is very much appreciated. Your use of our software and your enthusiasm for our software is greatly appreciated. So I hope you find the session interesting today. Before I hand over to Ian, who will take you through the key content, just highlight the fact that we're going to be showing and talking about some of the our new capabilities for our integration between SAP products and Alteryx, which I think the vast majority of you will have interest. We'll also be talking and showcasing some of our new integrations between SAP and Power BI, and the reception we've had for this particular integration since launch has been quite incredible, to be honest with you. And also we'll show you some of our new capabilities between SAP and Snowflake as well. So hopefully there's something for everybody, and you'll get plenty of food for thought for how you could utilize our software within your SAP estates going forward into 2024. So I'll shut up for now. Feel free to add questions into the chat at any time, but I'll hand over to Ian to run the show. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you, and welcome everybody. Thanks for your attentions. Hopefully we can show you some, as Darren mentioned, something new, something different, something interesting of what we have. The idea, as Darren mentioned, is to show you what we have developed already and that maybe you haven't quite seen yet, hadn't had a chance to look at, and also what's coming in the next while, next 12 months. So with that in mind, here's an overview, a very quick overview. I'm not going to delay on these slides at all, but to give you an idea of the where we're going with our products. We have obviously connectivity for a long time now for Alteryx, but equally for KNIME, DataIQ, Power BI, Tableau, and Snowflake. And depending on the maturity of our builds for each one of those target systems, target platforms, then obviously the range of tools it varies. Alteryx tends to have the most, but as you can see, we're working hard to make sure that the others have the same types of capability for the different SAP objects and systems indeed. And you can see there from our capability that next year, early on, we're looking to broaden that across the board. Write capability is no different. Again, we're going to build upon that as we go on, probably more later towards next year. Equally, in our RPA, we've been doing quite a lot of work with our RPA in Alteryx, but we're looking to roll that out in KNIME and in Power BI, as you can see, hopefully around Q2 next year. In terms of general capabilities, it doesn't matter what the platform is. As you can see from this slide, all the above applies, so yes, you can schedule depending on where you are via different routes. Yes, you can use single sign-on. Yes, you can use deltas. Yes, you've got all that governance and control that you've come to expect using the DVW tools. So here's a few little highlights. There have been literally hundreds of updates, changes, tweaks, improvements that we've applied to our tools across the board, not just Alteryx, but across the board throughout the year. Here's a few interesting ones that you might have overlooked, might know about already, or have even asked for, because we do respond to your suggestions. You can read here, so the RPA tool, you saw that we're rolling that out across other platforms, but certainly within Alteryx, we've added lots of different features and enhancements. That includes the ability to, if you are moving from ACL in the audit function, to upload those files that you use, the definition files that you use in ACL, and bring them into the RPA within our tool there. That really accelerates that migration, that shift, and builds in. If you've already gone on that journey, you'll know the flexibility, the speed of change, and the all the benefits of those platforms you've seen. We've added some technical pieces, lots of them. One highlight is that we can now, within the table tool, use database connection strings, which gives us an extra layer of capability there. We can, you may have noticed that within the SAP logon tool, you can now switch between client numbers if that's relevant for you, and also language. And then a really cool feature, in fact, I'm going to show you this one, is that we've added the ability to make variables, build variables into your date filters. So within any of our tools, you can now build variables. Now this may have skipped by you because it's sort of hidden, if you like. It's one of those things that's behind the right-click menus. So let's show you that. I'll just skip across into Alteryx. I'm going to just open an example. Here we are. Many of you are familiar with just a table tool example here. This one has a filter. Here we are. Year is 2019. Now, what's cool is if I right-click, there's a whole bunch of options here. These were those right-click menu options. Here's the new one. Create and edit variable. Now in here, what you can do is instead of having a text, you can have a variable, and you can choose what type. It's all related to time, so depending on obviously the time and period you're looking at, then you can pick one. Obviously, this one's year. You can even adjust it, so you can adjust it by an amount. So in this case, it's year, so it only really makes sense to adjust by year. And I'm going to adjust it by -5, so that in my calculations makes 2023 now, should make it 2018 when I run this thing. I can pick the format, and then I say OK, and you'll see in here in the low key, instead of having 2019, now I have this variable indicator. Okay, when I run this now, it's going to do that calculation. So it's going to, instead of hard coding that 2019, as it were, or having to use maybe one of our dynamic inputs to do a calculation within Alteryx, we can now do that calculation within the tool. So it will calculate, obviously, 5 years back, apply, 2023 minus the 5 is 2018. And we should, in theory, we just let that run through, see 2018 data as if by magic. Of course, that lends itself to automation and pushing to the Alteryx server. Okay, so a nice piece of functionality there that's been added that maybe you didn't know about. Go play with it. It's available as from the latest upgrade. So if you don't see it, then maybe you just need to upgrade. Come across to the Help Center and look for the newest version. So some other things that are here already or are coming soon. Lots of our customers have asked about the SAP Analytics Cloud. And we've responded. We now have tools. You may have noticed this if you've looked at the beta, but what's coming, as you can see, in January 2024 is the ability to read and write to SAC. And what's even more nice is that the read capability is part of your standard ACS license. So that will be free, if you like, free of charge. It comes along with your ACS license. Talk about early Christmas presents, if you like. We've also added ODP and the report, the SAP report file capability. These are two tools. Obviously, ODP for Delta. This is the A11 type files that you can pull back from SAP. Again, that's now standard and as part of the ACS license. So we've brought it into the big bundle that everybody has anyway. Also, new capability. It's coming. It's actually available now. It was released as part of the last release a few weeks back. Is that we have an SAP Ariba tool. So those of you that are looking for connectivity to Ariba, I know there are quite a few out there, then this is a premium add-on, but by all means, come and trial it, test it out. And obviously, hopefully you'll get good benefit from that. Then finally, on the sort of these key pieces, subject to approval from Alteryx, we're just working with Alteryx on this one. Alteryx obviously have their credential manager, DCM, and what we built is an integration into that so that then you can save and manage your SAP credentials centrally within that DCM. Okay, so it's where the other Alteryx credentials are managed to. So lots of improvements, lots of possibilities, lots of, we're really expanding the what's available within our tools. Let's have a look at a couple of the Alteryx pieces then. As we mentioned there, hey, look, we've got SAP Analytics Cloud, SAC, connectivity available. That's new. A little sneak preview for you. It comes, as I said, next month. But here it is, all shiny and new, if I can find the right tab. Just like the rest of our tools, it sits sitting up here. There it is. As I say, it'll be part of the standard license, so everybody will have it. So as long once you upgrade to the newest version, you'll have it. The other tools I was talking about that were part of the license or become part of the license are the ODP tool and this report tool here. So take a look at those two. In terms of the SAC read, it's very much like our other tools. Obviously, you've got to pick your the area within SAC you're looking for, which provider. As you see, there are potentially hundreds, but you'll know your systems better than I. And then within each of those providers, you've got the data sets there. You can pick again, once you choose one of those, you can pick the fields, whether they be key fields or data fields. They're all selected there, but then it runs. And as per all our other tools, you've got obviously the dynamic input so that we can pass filters across into the tool and apply those dynamically to get the data back. So here's our data coming out pretty quick, as you can see. And as ever, we can apply one filter manually, or there are those dynamic filters that we can add into. So SAC, part of the standard package from January next month, I guess. Okay, also new I mentioned was Ariba. Okay, so if you do run SAP Ariba in the procurement space, we're again filling another one of those gaps, and we will continue to do this and roll out new areas as we see a need, and many of our customers have asked for this. So again, going back to Alteryx, we can see it's a standard tool that we can have here. Here's the Ariba report tool. This is just a read tool at this point. Ariba works in a slightly different way to maybe that you're used to in an SAP system. It's probably because it wasn't an SAP system. It's been brought under the fold. But the best analogy is it's like running a background job. Okay, so what you're doing in here in the parameters is you're selecting the dimension that you wish. And you'll get obviously all the dimensions available within your Ariba system to select from. You then create what's called a view. Okay, and so I've created this view, and that view would be a combination of which fields I'm looking for and which filters I want to apply. Okay, once I've done that, I save that, and that's actually saving that particular view in Ariba. Because what happens is when I run this, it will run a job in background in Ariba. Now, because of the way it runs, you've got two options with our tool. Firstly, you can run it effectively in foreground, even though I've just said it's in background. We can wait effectively for that background job to run through its course in Ariba. Once it has, we will then bring seamlessly that data into Alteryx, and you'll be able to obviously use it as per any other Alteryx data. Another way of working, which is quite a nice way of doing it, is that we can run, we've got a setting here that allows us, you can just see at the bottom here, allows us to say, hey, just pick up that background job. What is the key for that background job? And that's what I've done here, actually. Here it is. It's horrible GUID, but there's the key. Okay, so it's output the label on that background job. And what we can do then is once everything's run, we can fire off all those background jobs. Once they've all run, we can then come in, use the same tool, okay, but we can feed the background job, which is here, hopefully. There it is. We can feed that into our Ariba tool. And what we find is the experience is faster because we're not waiting for the background job to run. As you can see, it's not many records, but you can see it did run nice and quickly. And we get the data we're looking for pulled into Alteryx. As ever, with all of our tools, that then becomes just Alteryx data and you can use it as you wish. Okay. So that's SAC, SAP Ariba, all coming either here now in case of Ariba or coming soon in terms of SAC. Okay, so that was Alteryx, but you can see from the diagram in front of you, we deal with more platforms than just Alteryx. And what I want to show you now is just a quick demo of how we work with Power BI. And again, we've been doing lots of work here to make it much more seamless, much easier to use for any type of user, whether it be a very technical IT user, but more for business users too. So it's very business user friendly, and hopefully, as you'll see in a second. So the way our functionality works with Power BI is that we can have a multitude of read sources, sort of the same list. You saw the roadmap above, and that was ever growing, but you can see the type of objects that you can connect to. And what you do is within your desktop in this case, you build a connection, and this connection is built within our XCS. So this is cross connector for SAP, our XCS connector console. When you create that connection, it basically is the configuration for which object you want to connect to, which particular version, T-code say, or table that you're looking at, all the filters and all the configuration to make that connection work. So the metadata, if you like, of the connection, not the data, but the metadata. And what we can do is we can then call that connection from within Power BI. And there's several ways of doing that. Okay, we can also call it, as you can see by the name of the module here that's sitting in Power BI. It's the Power Query connector for SAP. So we can run it within Power Query, and I'll just show you that now again. Okay, so where are we going? Just here. So if you know Power BI, then this will be familiar. If you haven't, then chances are you probably have access to it. If you've got Office 365 at your organization, then chances are you've already got Power BI. And by all means, come and play with this. Sign up for a trial and have a go. We'll get you running with it. So we can go say get data, okay? And Power BI can connect to a multitude of different sources. Within here, if we put DVW, then we'll get the DVW sources. And one of those is our connector for SAP. This is the XCS console that we talked about. When I say connect, what it's going to do is it's going to talk from Power BI into that console, and it's going to retrieve all the connections I've already built. Okay, and you can see them here. So I've got some tables here, BW, all the stuff there. You see even a T code, yeah. But let's create a new one, okay? So I'm going to create a new data set. I just click here, and that then takes me into the console itself. So you can see it's fully within Power BI, and we start to build. This is a new and improved, for those that have seen the XCS before. It too has been improved, and the look and feel is much more user-friendly, so that's worth noting too. You can see the range of objects that are possible at the moment. This will increase as time goes on. But if we hit T-code here, then you have your systems. Not surprisingly, I'm going to stay with my ECC system. And then I can say, hey, let's run a T-code, FBL3N, say. When I search for that, it's going to talk to obviously to my SAP system and check that that's a proper T-code. just as you would say within Alteryx. And it can say, hey, look, do you want a variant? Yeah, of course I want a variant. That makes things quicker, certainly in demo terms. So if I pick a variant, what's nice here is that I can copy the variant across. And you can see here, look, it's got a company code 3000, a range of GLs, some dates, etc. Okay, but now it gets really good. If you've used the Alteryx tool, you'll know it's really sleek, it's quick, it's fast. This is even better. So if we go to design and we design the report, a lot of the work gets done for us. So we can say, hey, I want to run it in the foreground. Yeah, do a preview. Let's go to next. Okay, so we get this little wizard that takes us through the preparation of that T-code data. What it's done is it's run the T-code within the console here. And you can see this is what you would see in the SAP GUI. Okay, so you've got a GL and company code, a table that relates to that combination. And if we scroll down, if I can grab this, you can see there are other tables for the other combinations. Now, what's really cool here is, so I'll just click out of this if I can, just close that. What's really cool here is it's already highlighted. You can see some of these fields, right? So it's seen that these are header fields, okay? So it's identified them and said, hey, I'm going to put those 3 header fields into the configuration automatically. I didn't add those. But what I don't want, maybe I'm not really particularly interested in the description. I just want the code, so I can turn that off. You can see it's identified the header line. It's grayed out already things like blanks and dashes, but also it's blanked, it's ignoring this row here, which is a totals row. It automatically ignores those. If I want them, I can reverse that, but hey, it's done all the work for me. And if I preview the data straight away, we're there. We've not only has it extracted the data, but it's cleansed it for me and put it in a nice format straight away. If I confirm my changes, then that's it. It's done. It's built. I can preview if I like, but it's just going to be pretty much the same as the preview we just saw. And now I've built my connection that connects back into SAP. That's sitting in the console, in that XCS console. So I can save this if I'm happy. So FBL 3N, let's call it, I don't know, 777. Looking for some. Okay, save that. And now what's really nice is once that's saved, you can see it has, I can back out of here. And if I look in my data sets, then that will appear ready to use in Power BI. So Power BI is just talking to the XCS middleware, the console. It's running that particular connection and bringing the data back. Now that's fantastic. I could load that in. I can use that data immediately within Power BI. But it gets even better, because if I go across now to Power Query, because I have that connection already built, I can query it straight away. So within Power Query, and again, if you know a little bit about this, that's great. If you don't, it's really easy to pick up. I can promise you, I picked it up quickly, and that's no mean feat, believe me. But what you can see, if I put in DVW, there are extra functions. Okay, so these functions obviously relate to the DVW console. And what we can do is we can say, hey, go and get me FBL 3N777, okay? And what's even cooler is that I can apply filters, okay? So maybe I want to do, hey, I don't want company code 3000. I want company code equal to 1000. Now when I return, he says, try again. Now when I return, deliberate error just to show it's live, it will go off. It will talk to the console, run that connection, but apply, as you can see, a filter that is 1000 rather than 3000. Now what that means is that you can control exactly the data that gets brought back into into Power BI. So then you can start to build really cool stuff. Okay, so for instance, we can add filters like this. So we can have a whole bunch of filters. Hey, here's some material types. Notice, for those that are familiar with it, I'm splitting those calls. So I'm breaking up the calls, and I can go get my material master data for those. Here's my material master data. That's using the Mara table. You can see it here, and I'm applying those filters. If I take that list then that's being generated there, I can embed that. I can link it into another table call. So I can pass that list into a second call to go and get the text for those specific values. Other uses of this, of course, would be using the header table, say the Finance 1 BKPF, getting some data back, but then feeding back a filter that says, hey, go get me the line items, but just for these particular documents. Once you have these in Power Query, we can join them. And if we just close this, just have to find it, then you can create yourself a dashboard. Okay, and of course you've then got all the functionality, the nice functionality of Power BI, and then when you come in tomorrow, you can refresh it. What's also nice is that within Power Query, you can build in parameters. So you can do things like connect to, say, that FBL3N connection, the T code, but have parameters that say, hey, let the user pick from a list or enter a particular parameter and run the T code, but from within Power BI. Really is so flexible, so very user-friendly. Hopefully that gives you an idea for it. Okay, so that was Power BI. Everything I showed you there obviously was on the desktop. So we've got desktop XCS. So this is a console there, you can see. We've got desktop Power BI, but equally we can run this, and this is where automation and all that good stuff comes in. We have a server version of our console. Equally, obviously, there are server versions of Power BI. Here's a diagram of how that works. The top row there is what you've just seen. So desktop XCS to Power BI, and obviously the person developing the typically the person developing the connection and the data that's being transferred across will test at a desktop level, but then all of that can be published down into the server version of XCS, and that server version can point to the Power BI Enterprise Gateway, which equally can then be called to pull the data and schedule data loads into the Power BI portal or the Power BI service, whatever the name for it is nowadays. Okay, so lots of flexibility, lots of great functionality, and really easy to use, business-friendly ways to get your data to the place you want. As I said before, if you've got Office 365, chances are you've probably got some Power BI sitting there, even though you don't know about it. Have a play. Sign up, register with us for a trial of the connector. We'll get you up and running, as many of you will know already. That's pretty pain-free, and you can see and try and see how that works for you. Okay. Okay, so that was Power BI. As Darren mentioned, we're also going to show you some of the connectivity to Snowflake. Okay, and this works. The reason we're showing this as opposed to other ones that you can see there, 9 Tableau, whatever, it works in a slightly different way, in that rather than being a pull directly from say Power BI like you've just seen, or Alteryx, it works more of a push, an outside in piece. So let me step on and explain. So what happens is similar sort of setup on the left here. You can see it uses actually the same XCS console. So we create our connections, and we use something called Python scripting to launch and push data from the connection. So we pull data from SAP and push it into an object, a table within Snowflake. What is nice, and I will show you this, is that we can apply filters. So we can build filters, we can create dynamic filters within Snowflake, pass those back to the console and say, hey, just bring this data, and that will get applied and the table gets brought across into the Snowflake arena. So the way we start this is we actually start within the console itself. And I can't see that, of course, so let's just bring it up. So this is the console. Okay, you can see that the files here are all the different connections I built, and there's my FBL3 with 777 in there. So that's the one I just created now. Okay, so very easy to create a new one. We just hit create. We go to that familiar screen that you saw coming out of Power BI, okay, and pick the type of data we want. Let's go for a table this time. Maybe we want a HANA system. Let's change it up. RS for HANA system. And we just say, hey, what table? Well, let's keep it simple, just some material master data. And we can see that it's taught to the HANA system. It's brought back the metadata, as we'd expect. And we can pick whichever fields we wish, whichever columns are interesting for this particular process. As ever, with all our tools, you can filter as you wish. So, for instance, we can add a filter here for material type. So let's get finished products first. And there are some settings, but let's look at the preview. And there we have, a preview of the data. As you can see, the filter's been applied. Maybe we're happy with that, and we save that connection. Okay, so let's call it Mara 777. Why not? Okay, so we've now saved that connection back into the console. We'll see that that's there when we come out here. I hope we will. There it is, Mara 777. Okay, and here's where it differs from the experience we've just seen in Power BI. So for Snowflake, what we do is we push the data using this scripting, this Python scripting. Don't let that put you off. Okay, I know nothing, I can promise you, about Python scripting. Okay, but I can run a Python script because the system itself generates the script for you. So it's pretty simple, really. You go to the scripts tab, you say, hey, I want to run, where is it? Mara 777. It's in Snowflake, but there are other possibilities here, notice. If you do want some Python scripting, if you are that way inclined. What we can do then is we can say, right, I want to use a particular Snowflake system. You can have more than one, but I've just got the one here. So I select my system and I create a target table. So let's make it simple, Mara 777. Okay. Now, when I refresh, all those details that I pick here will be pushed and create a script that relates to them. Okay. So you don't need to do any more than that. I've refreshed it. I'm just going to save it so it's there for posterity. Okay. And then when I run, this will run the script, which in turn uses the connection that I've created to pull back the data from SAP that I need, and then push that and create the table over on the Snowflake side. Okay, so if I switch across to Snowflake, bear with me, then hopefully, cross your fingers for me, when we look in here, then in our tables, you can see we have Mara 777. It's landed, and there's my data with all my finished goods sitting in there. Okay, so a very simple process now, but you can imagine that using the servers you'll see in a minute, you can schedule those. You've got great flexibility. And what's more, as I mentioned, you can use filters. So I've created a filter here, material type list. It's not a very long list, it's just 2. but it's semi-finished goods and finished goods, halves and thirds. Okay, so we have a list, as you can imagine. This could be a long list. It could be brought in from Excel, from an SAP read, whatever you like. It sits here, but we can use that empty list in order to filter our push. So if we do another push using the script, this time I'm going to use a filter, as I said. So empty underscore list. That will talk first to Snowflake, bring back the list. They will be applied as filters. And let's make a number 2. And then that will create a new target table with the new filters. I have to refresh so that all those changes get applied. Okay. It doesn't matter if I save or not, because it's whatever's sitting here will run. And so when I run now, it's going to do that work for me. It's going to extend the call, because it's going to pull data back both for halves, for semi-finished goods, and for thirds. And hopefully when that's finished, which I believe it has, I'll just wait a second, then we can whiz across into here, back into Snowflake, refresh, and you can see here's my second table. And this time when I data preview, it's applied my new filters. I have all my halves, but also I have the thirds as well. Okay, so you can really control the data that is pulled into Snowflake from within Snowflake is the key there. Really flexible tool, very, very useful, very, very smooth and efficient. Again, the beauty of this, and I guess even more so for Snowflake because of the nature of it, of the system, we can use, again, the desktop as the test bed. So we can build our connections within there, as you've just seen. But then we can publish those credentials, those connections down into our server. And from there, we can schedule those loads. The schedules in this case are built within the console. So we can schedule it to push data from Mara every day, every hour, whatever's necessary, push it into a Snowflake table. We can choose to delete the table, to append it, to replace it, or rename it as we wish. So really dynamic, user-friendly way of getting data to Snowflake from SAP. So hopefully, you've got some ideas of what's new, what we've done to improve. We are listening to you, but we want to keep improving. And one of the best ways is for the people who know our tools probably better than we do to help. Okay, so we would ask you, look, hey, you can see that some of those, and as I mentioned up front, most of those are from requests from our customers, and that's a response to those requests, and we're really keen to improve and do it the right way. Create something that's going to be used rather than what we think is the thing to do. So what I would ask you to do, if you do have some ideas, if you've got some suggestions for us, then go to the Help Center, use the submit a request that you can see right next to your name in the Help Center. If you use the ticket category, new ideas and features, suggestions, then we'll take those suggestions very seriously and look to see what we can do about building those into the future versions of our tools. The last thing to say from me, I guess, is if you are impressed with anything you see, come to our website. Obviously, it's dvwanalytics.com. You can, of course, see more about the different products from within there. By the way, our YouTube channel has lots of videos just showing you some more background and some ideas if you haven't seen that. But by all means, take a look at what the products do. And of course, register for a trial. Even if you're, I don't know, an Alteryx user already, you want to try out Power BI, just register for a trial. We'll give you a 30-day trial on the Power BI version or the Snowflake version, whatever it may be. Okay, so hopefully giving you some ideas there, and please have a great festive period. Darren.
Thanks, Ian. I think you've pretty much said it all. Thank you, everybody, for your attention and interest. So in this session here, we've covered our latest innovations within Alteryx, and hopefully get a sense that we're continuing to work very aggressively within the Alteryx platform. Alteryx themselves are doing some really cool things with their software, and we're making sure that we're there and available to hook into their different components as they come online, but also to address demand in different parts of businesses. As much as we love Alteryx, not everybody is currently using Alteryx. Not everybody may want to use Alteryx. So therefore, we have our products for Power BI, we have products for NIME, and also in the sort of big data space, of course. Then Snowflake is something of a gorilla, where we've had a lot of customers asking queries about. So please, if you have questions subsequent to this session, come visit us at the website, contact myself or Ian. You'll get our details on the follow-up email that comes out, and we're more than happy for either demo different parts of the solution to you or enable trials for you. But thanks very much, and I wish you all a happy holiday season if you celebrate it, and if you don't celebrate it, hopefully you get some downtime anyway. But thank you.